Hey, I'm John Morello. I'm the CTO for Twistlock. First of all, just to thank everybody for the recognition that we've gotten. We've been in business now for going on 3 years, and really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys today and talk about what we're seeing to help customers protect their DevOps pipelines and basically to protect the next generation of applications as they build them in a cloud-native format. There's two real trends that we see people dealing with today that are relevant to the product that we build. One of them is that you've heard the term about software eating the world and every company becoming a software company, and really software becoming a real source of innovation and competitive advantage for organizations of all kinds, like industrial and financial and so forth. The tools of that mass innovation are things like Docker and DevOps and containerization and cloud-native applications, basically trying to take the same kinds of methodologies and tooling that people like Google and Uber and Airbnb and so forth use and apply those in your standard enterprises. The challenge, though, that you have with that is the bad guys out there also have really advanced tools, right? And they have more advanced and more sophisticated ways to attack those applications. And you need to have a tool set that's really aligned with how do you protect that sort of new approach to doing application development. Our fundamental belief is that containers and this whole approach of cloud-native development actually helps you improve security. And the reason why it does that is because there's a few unique characteristics of containers that are different than what that old pattern represented. That old pattern, that old world security idea is something that really relies a lot on excessive amounts of manual interaction, right? If I'm building my application, I'm going to go and describe as a developer to the security team how the app works. It listens on a certain port, it runs a particular version of a binary, it talks to this back-end database. And if my security team is really on the ball, they'll go to 2 or 3 different tools, they'll configure an IDS rule in one place, and a malware rule somewhere else, and firewall someplace else. The reality is that stuff never scales, right? Because as soon as the application changes, those rules are no longer relevant or somebody has to go and update them. And so you have that notion of rot and the security tooling not really keeping up with the applications. And that notion of DevOps is really all about rapid application development. So if you have tools that don't support that, you're not really able to take advantage of what that opportunity is. And so what containers really allow us to do is to have a better and a different way to be able to secure applications, because we can apply a lot more automation to learning what the application should do and building up the rules to protect those applications without human involvement. So instead of a model in which somebody has to describe exactly how the application should be protected, it should only receive traffic on a particular port, or it should only be able to run a particular binary, we can learn that stuff automatically. And that's a really unique aspect of this entire container space, and the space that you can kind of consider to be cloud native in general. So that whole family of things that make up serverless applications and containers and that DevOps mentality for how you build software in that environment. And containers really have a few characteristics that are unique there and allow us as a security company to do things differently. First of all, containers are really minimalistic. They typically are only designed to do a particular thing as opposed to a full server, which has all kinds of binaries and components and functionality in there, so it's really hard to understand exactly what it does. They're really declarative, so by definition, as you build your images that you run in those containers, you're creating all the logic that you need to describe how it works, what ports it listens on, how it behaves, without somebody having to take an additional step to do that. And they're very predictable. They do the same thing throughout their life cycle, so it's much easier and much more reliable to be able to identify what are things that are different and anomalous in there. And so what we do is we create this notion of autonomous defense, in which as you run your applications, without you having to change the application in any way, without you having to change the way that you deploy the application or the tools that you use, as you deploy that app, we're able to learn what the application does and create a model that describes it across 4 dimensions. The kind of process activity it has, networking behaviors, system calls, file system writes, which allow us to really understand very comprehensively all the ways that the application should behave. And then without you having to create a rule that describes what's good and what's bad, we have this model that describes all of the known good activities, and thus everything that's outside the model is automatically looked at as anomalous. And it really allows us to have a much more scalable way of doing that application defense, because instead of there being a person involved every time to describe what's okay and what's not, software is able to do that, and it's able to do that as part of the DevOps pipeline. So as you build your application, that learning occurs automatically, the protection follows the application automatically, without you actually having to go in there and configure any manual rules on your own. And of course, we also can layer on additional capabilities like classical sort of threat intelligence there. So it's not just the model, but it's the model providing us this baseline that we can always queue off of. And it allows us to have this new world security pattern in which what we're really doing is having autonomous security, something that's developed automatically as your developers build their application, all the way through the point that that application is running, regardless of where it runs, what network it's in, what cloud provider it runs on. No matter where the application is, you're having this model-based approach followed around. And that's a real fundamental difference from that old world security model, which required a lot of rules, a lot of infrastructure, and a lot of manual care and feeding. And that's basically what we built. We built a solution for cloud-native security that's designed to protect you throughout the entire life cycle of the application and from top to bottom of the stack. So not just the containers, but the apps you run in them, the serverless components you run around them, the host that you run it on, from the very beginning of that CI process all the way through production. And the product that we make is not just simply doing that runtime defense, which is a core part of what we're doing, but to provide an entire platform. So vulnerability management, compliance, cloud-native firewalling, access control, those are all the capabilities that we have in the platform. And it's designed to provide people a comprehensive set of capabilities that span everything that they need. So we've been in this space for a few years. We've got a lot of great customers, a lot of great contributions in the open source and the standards community. We'd love to show you the product and give you a demo and answer questions. So please come see us at the booth. Thank you.